KGVO Missoula Sports Talk Tonight and streaming online at Newstalk, KGVO.com.
Guernsey-o, wherefore art thou? Guernsey-o. I hear Butte is lovely this time of year.
You know, and it probably is today, and I was thinking earlier, why didn't we make a tea time today?
Yeah, the wind had died down. It was a pretty mild day. Tomorrow, sunny and 70. So if you like this one,
let's say
if you are
Thursday. Yeah.
I think.
What do you think? Knock off early?
Yeah, I think in your role as executive producer of Sports Talk Tonight and absolutely nothing else to do around here, I think you ought to make that.
Yeah, especially this week. There's nothing going on.
I got too much to do though, unfortunately, because got prep to do. You won't see much of me tomorrow. By the way, I'm prepping for the long weekend to Wisconsin. And
oh, that's right. You've got.
Yes,
yeah, we'll have to talk a little bit about that. Later in the show.
We really should. That over there is our executive producer Kyle Stensrud filling in for Scott Guernsey, who is in Butte. Son Cameron's, I think you said final
football game
of the season, his youth football team, which I think is doing quite well, ends up playing on Wednesday night. So Gern says, I saw him Saturday, of course, at the statewide tailgate pregame broadcast. He said, I got some good news, I got some bad news. So the bad news is Cameron's last game is Wednesday night. So I won't be there, Sports Talk Tonight. But I already got Eric Tabor to fill in. I thought, well, great, because I already asked Amie Just from the Missoulian to come to the show, so I think we're doing just fine. And so I send Eric a note yesterday, I think it was yesterday afternoon, and that's when it dawned on him, I had already committed
to family.
Got me a family.
Duty.
Yeah, this bye-week business, you know. So I figured, well, Riley Corker, the voice of the Grizz, it's bye-week. He doesn't have anything going on.
They're all on vacation this
I'm not
week.
in town. I can't help you. Greg Sundberg, Executive Director, Grizzly Scholarship Association. Well, I'll text Greg to see if, you know the wine festival's coming up, which is like,
right.
I'm out of town. So
I bet you
I think Amy, you and me are about the only people affiliated with the Grizz in some way that are in town. So
I bet they're all listening.
And
Eric,
poor Eric, he says, I am so sorry. I feel horrible about this. And I just said, how many times have we just, bugged you last minute to come in here and do the show, and you graciously did it?
Yeah, the whole house band is out of town.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So that's what happened there. So, Kyle, it was nice of you to help fill in here.
Yeah, appreciate the 10-minute notice.
It was more like an hour and 10. You didn't get
I was prepping like Gern's preps.
You didn't know. You were over prepping compared to that, but you didn't get much more notice than I did. But Eric, that's okay. I know he's probably not listening because he had family commitments that. Oops, I forgot about the family
probably
thing.
Sitting at dinner, he's got his phone down here, and he's got his little ear thing, listening to News Talk KGVO, streaming online, worldwide, mind you.
Yep, that's okay though. We will get through things just fine. As I mentioned, Amie Just, the Grizzly football beat reporter for the Missoulian and 406mtsports.com, going to join us here in a few minutes. And I'm excited to learn more about. I'm really enjoying it. I think you are too. The 406 MT Sports.
We were just talking about that earlier.
It's a pretty cool deal, and so, but we haven't had anybody representing that media outlet on the show yet. So it'll be kind of cool to talk about that as well. The university, I got word a little while ago. The University of Montana band.
Yeah.
This is
you go.
Well, I don't know. Do you have might find the GoFundMe address, or maybe Amy knows it. I don't know, but anyway,
they're at $2,000 right now.
The University of Montana. It was announced that the University of Montana marching band, pep band, whatever you want to call that great big band.
Yep.
They don't get to go to Bozeman for the Montana State game. We would not be represented by our own band at the Grizz Cat game because they don't have the
budget
bucks.
Cuts.
It's like a $25,000 deal.
Which seems like a lot, but you've got 130 some band members in a hotel, and
once I started breaking
do
it down,
the quick mental math.
Yeah.
I don't four of them in a room.
Yeah, do they overnight? I thought maybe they just bust the same day. I didn't know, but regardless,
sounds like they overnight.
$25,000 deal, and so they've started.
I got a sneaky suspicion they're gonna be going.
Yeah.
Just knowing this community.
Yeah,
and it's Grizz Bobcats.
And it's so it's a GoFundMe page, right?
Yeah, it's
the
GoFundMe.
band. It's in the key of C, I believe. But how do you?
I'll try to find the.
I'll try
to find the address for the GoFundMe page.
Yeah. So raising money to get the band to Bozeman, and it would not look good for the school to football team be there and not be represented by the band. That would not look good. So, but if they're already at a couple grand, hey, I think they're doing just fine. Well, more bad news. University of Montana Lady Grizz basketball, and man, I just feel so sad for those kids, and thoughts are with them, of course, and looking ahead to the team. Last year, as everybody recalls, we lose two really talented seniors. One voted the preseason MVP in the Big Sky Conference, Kaylee Valley, goes down with an injury before the season starts. That happens in practice, and she has surgery, and she rehabs, and she works her butt off, and she is, again, about to be voted the preseason Big Sky Conference Player of the Year. Gets the same injury in practice a week ago Friday, I want to say, and so so Kaylee opts to didn't have a choice there, just decided to call it good, and so Kaylee cannot perform this year. You're thinking, well, we still got Alicia, because the same story with Alicia Harris. I got to get used to saying Alicia Harris. She got married. Alicia came back from surgery and rehab, and due to some other injuries that she'd suffered earlier in her basketball career, goes back to her high school days, just did not have the strength in the legs to continue, and announced her retirement. And so University of Montana Lady Grizz basketball team, I won't say they're back to where they were, because all of those kids that were forced into duty last year got a lot of valuable experience. It's obviously going to alter who is and who is not going to redshirt this year, because head coach Shannon Schwain's saying, all right, I got my two seniors back. My two best players are back, Alicia and Kaylee. So we got to figure out what the redshirt situation is going to be, and that's gonna alter that a lot.
I think we'll find that out here in the next week or two. Had a conversation with a Schwain family member today. So
yeah, we're trying to get Shannon.
Try get Shannon and might bring her husband in for fun.
Yeah. Brian, you want to tag along?
Yeah.
Shannon Schwain, head coach of the University of Montana Lady Grizz basketball. Brian Schwain, the head track coach of the University of Montana. So we are hoping both of them will be able to join us next Wednesday, and Shannon can talk more about that. By the way, you can see how the teams are looking for absolutely free at the University of Montana Grizzly basketball maroon and silver scrimmages. We've got those coming up on Tuesday night. Guys will tip off at 5:30, and Lady Grizz are scheduled to tip off at around 7 o'clock. Anyway, both of those at the Adams Center, and no admission charge. So you can check out the early editions of Grizz and Lady Grizz basketball. I suppose now the Lady Grizz will... those kids are going to be tired, because there's not a lot of substitutes on a scrimmage when you just lost two players.
You were talking about redshirt, and it's like, how many can redshirt? Because they need most of them now.
Well, they will now, just like they did last year. They do have a post player coming in who's supposed to be a very, very talented kid, and she was here for summer camps and just kind of thought, I could do all sorts of things in high school that I don't think I can do against a college caliber player. It's rare when a true freshman comes in and goes, Coach, I think I should redshirt. But that's the situation, and then that may have to be changed. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
We shall see. Well, before we get to Amie, let's do trivia here. 721-1290, if you know the answer to our trivia question. I set that up by talking basketball. That ought to tell you where the question's going. Anyway, we are brought to you by Fuddruckers, world's greatest hamburgers. Whatever you order off that amazing Fuddruckers menu, you tell them how you want it cooked, they call out your name, and then you go top it yourself. You go over to those prep tables there, just about anything you can imagine to put on your burger. That would include the elk and the buffalo at Fuddruckers as well. Fuddruckers, world's greatest hamburgers. We've got a $10 gift certificate for you. And from Brent and the crew at Happy Days Car Wash, a gift card for the Works Car Wash. You want the best car wash in town, get the cleanest car at Happy Days. You want the best vacuums in town. You're a Happy Days Car Wash vac fan.
I turned you on to those vacuums when they first installed them.
They've got, I don't know how many vacuum bays. They got like 7 of them back there, but you get vacuums on either side of the vehicle, so you're not crawling around and wrestling with a hose.
Pulling through the vehicle.
Yeah, it's not like being captured by a python or something. No. You just got lots of room to work with there.
Top off your washer fluid.
Yeah.
Air your tires.
Yep.
Wipe down the inside of the windows to get all dirty and filmy.
And maybe you haven't seen it because it's actually kind of behind the wash bay, so it's a little bit off of Brooks, but They are there. I promise you. Happy Days. They are on Brooks between Pizza Hut and Fairbridge Inn and Suites. So got the gift card for the Works Car Wash at 721-1290, if you know the answer to our trivia. Grizzly basketball in the air. Annual Maroon and Silver scrimmages on Tuesday. The Grizz men's team, they've only got the one exhibition game this year. That is Monday, November 6th against the University of Saskatchewan. They will be taking on A, the Polar Bears, B, the Huskies, or C, the Mounties. 721-1290. University of Saskatchewan is A, the Polar Bears, B, the Huskies, or C, the Mounties. 721-1290. I need a winner right away.
And Saskatchewan is hard to spell, so nobody's going to try to Google that one. They won't have time to call in. So
we'll be back with our winner right after this.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk Tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
welcome back to Sports Talk Tonight, brought to you by Bell McCall Ford. Great selection of new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. Bell McCall is your locally owned, low-cost auto dealer for over 100 years in Hamilton. Go say hi to Neil and his buddies down there. And Granite Pharmacy, locally owned and operated pharmacy on South Avenue between Shopko and Big Sky High School. Find them at granitepharmacy.com. And hey, Denny, do not forget to get your flu shot.
Yes, sir. I promise I will do that.
Go see Eric over at Granite Pharmacy.
Neil at Bell McCall, he must be a pretty patient dude because he actually listens to us on a
He listens to us and he deals with me on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah.
So he's extremely patient.
I guess so.
And quite the golfer. Ooh, Denny.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You've set us up for the spring.
There we go.
So. Our contestant on the line is Brian Ronas from Corvallis, Montana. How are you tonight, Brian?
I am doing awesome.
Great to have you in the Sports Talk Tonight family. We were talking Grizzly basketball there, and of course we got the scrimmages coming up, Maroon and Silver at 5:30 on Tuesday. The guys will kick off the season with an exhibition game against the University of Saskatchewan. So they'll be taking on A, the Polar Bears, B, the Huskies, or C, the Mounties. What do you think there, Brian?
Let's go B, the Mounties.
And off air, when I was taking the phone call for the winner, you said there's sort of an interesting connection in your family to that.
Well, not kinda, yeah. I had a son that was recruited to play football and wrestle there, but he didn't go. But
okay,
they came and they were recruiting for him.
Small world, crazy world. Yeah, they're out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, established back in 1907. It's a big university, actually. I was surprised there's nearly somewhere in the neighborhood of 24,000 students there, but we will be taking on University of Saskatchewan Huskies. Good job there, Brian Ronas. We appreciate you listening very much, and I'll get your prizes mailed out to you, all right?
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Brian Ronas, our latest winner on Sports Talk Tonight Trivia, where we welcome to the show University of Montana Grizzly football beat reporter for the Missoulian and 406mtsports.com, Amie Just. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and another thank you to you. You are the first, that I recall anyway, you're the first reporter that's trying to make a regular habit of attending the Thursday night coaches show at Brooks and Brown. Maybe you didn't know you were a pioneer there.
Well, I'm a little different, so. But no, Thursdays I typically have a half day at work, and, you know, Brooks and Brown's is right across the river from the Missoulian, so I like to go and grab a glass of wine, and it just so happens that the coaches show just happens to be there.
Well, no, we're thrilled that you are. No, we really appreciate you coming. And I suppose you can multitask a little bit. I know that you've quoted Coach Stitt in your articles, say, from the coaches' shows. So, and a lot of the other coaches, they do kind of a bonding kind of thing where a lot of them attend. We always have one assistant coach on the show and a player, but just about all the assistant coaches attend too. They sit over on a table off to the side. So, if need be, you can get a little work in too, right?
Yeah, I don't like bothering them, but yeah, no, it's just good to see, you know, the coaches and stuff, because I'm new here, so, you know, they've only interacted with me since July, So it's,
All right.
Just
You haven't-
facial recognition at this point.
You haven't scared them away yet? Is that what you're saying?
I
Hearing Amie
don't
on this?
think so.
Okay, all right. Well, a little bit of your background as far as your journalist background and where you grew up and all that stuff, and what led you to the Missoulian.
Yeah, well, I'm a recent graduate from the University of Kansas. I like to joke that the fifth-year seniors are the same age as me, and that's
Now,
not a
see,
joke.
Here's another reason Guernsey is going to be disappointed. Scott
Guernsey's
Guernsey
missing out.
is going to be brokenhearted because for basketball, it's the Kansas Jayhawks.
Rock chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, duh, hello.
So you're a Kansas gal.
I am. Well, that's where I went to school.
Right,
I'm
that's
from
what I meant.
Nebraska, so I'm a trader in my family.
Yeah.
My mom went to the University of Nebraska, and she actually went to Doane College before that, which is where Coach Stitt went. So it's an interesting connection there.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, I know back in her day, Kansas and Nebraska didn't like each other very much. So when I told her I wanted to go to Kansas, she was not exactly pleased with that decision.
You go from red to purple.
Blue.
No,
blue,
no,
excuse me,
no,
blue.
no,
Kansas
no,
State's
no.
purple.
Purple's Kansas State.
Oh,
I think
You be careful there.
Gurns isn't here, he would have whooped on me.
Yeah.
yeah, I might too. That's confusing maroon for blue around these parts. Don't do that.
I think it's that Viking thing, Denny, where the purple comes
Purple?
from.
All right.
It's just blood in.
I still have to lament that. Now, I got off on a tangent there, and I
There,
did not
yeah.
lament what's happening this weekend.
We'll
I'll
lament
get-
later.
I'll get back to that. I will
Yeah.
get back. I'm not going to lament on
drag
Amy's
Amie into
time
that.
because you get that diploma in hand at Kansas, and away you go to here.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know. It was, well, I wanted to cover, college sports at a place that really cared about them, and so when I was looking for jobs all across the country, this one popped up and it was like, they might be even more rabid than my beloved Cornhuskers. So, and that's a good thing.
On
It's
a
good thing.
smaller scale, but yeah.
But, there's nothing wrong with that. You like who you like, and you're a fan of who you're a fan of. And it doesn't matter if they're, D3 or, the NFL.
Grizzly fans and Husker fans are very similar, albeit a little bit smaller here. But you go, as you well know, you go anywhere in Nebraska, and it's red
Oh yeah.
everywhere, from the smallest little
Yeah.
teeny town to Lincoln to wherever. I mean,
Yeah.
they literally.
So you
Lead
saw that the community had such a passion for the product, and that was a big appeal to you. So now you got to campaign for the job. Now you got to go after the job. What was the process there?
So I actually applied for the basketball beat writer position because that was the one that was open when I had applied for it. The football job hadn't opened up yet. And so I just decided to go for it, and I sent in my application and did my interview and thought that I did well. Heard back, a week or two later, and the executive sports editor at 406 MT Sports and Jeff Welsh told me, he's like, well, would you like the football job? And I was like, yes, please. Like, yes. It's almost not a question for me.
Sure.
Football's in my blood. It's
Yeah.
everything.
Amie Just from the Missoulian and 406mtsports.com, our guest on Sports Talk tonight. And when I said, well, now give me your title. So when I introduced you, I got it right. You said Grizz football beat reporter. And I suppose what comes to mind is, okay, well, that's so football, you do that for a few months of the year, and then what do you do? But it doesn't work that way, does it?
Not with college football. No, it does not. There's spring ball, there's recruiting, there's, if there's a potential coaching change, there's always something. And there's never really an off season. But when I'm not dealing with that, I'll be helping out Kyle Hotelling with preps. So that'll be an interesting run as well. Haven't covered a whole lot of preps, but
He'll train you in because he's on Twitter doing the prep stuff all the time.
Oh yes, I sit right across from him.
Yeah.
In the newsroom. So
He never puts it down, it looks like.
Besides the interview process, because you're writing about sports, so you got to talk to coaches, players. whatever. But when you're writing an article, does that come to you quickly, or do you have to kind of lay it out a little bit in your mind when you write a sports article? And I know that, of course, you have to probably respect a maximum number of word guideline and all of that. Is Amie, you're only getting two rows or this many words this week. But what is your I know you're fairly new at it, but what is your process? Have you kind of settled into a routine that you like when you do an article?
Yeah, so every article is different. Every story is different. Sometimes the articles almost write themselves, and then other times you have to try a little harder. Not every person is the best quote, or sometimes you just get strings of coach cliches that you can't use. But yeah, no, I transcribe all of my interviews, and I check things or italicize things that, I can lead with this, or I can put this there. And I just kind of write from the top, and I go down, and if it's too long, then I'll typically cut it at the end. I like to flesh everything out, and if I have to make it shorter, I have to make it shorter, and I find ways to cut it that way. But I don't like infringing on my creative process when I'm trying to get everything on the page.
Well, and it's a melding process, isn't it? Because you're talking about a sporting event, so you're talking about facts. It probably is a little bit tricky. You kind of have to meld the facts, what went on with the game. You've got to insert a little bit of your own observation, which sort of equals opinion, but you got to get it in there, and then whatever coaches and players have to say. So to me, it almost seems like at least a three-legged stool when you put together an article like that.
Yeah, I like to joke that it's a piece of art, but it really is, because it takes a lot of different thinking, and you have to put pieces together, and sometimes they don't fit the way you want them to, but then you sometimes have to reorganize everything, and then if you have something pre-written during a game and it doesn't end the way you thought it was going to, you have to delete everything and start all over. So,
what attracted you to sports writing initially?
So I've always done sports. I'm not the most coordinated person by any means, and I'm not very tall, so that eliminates a lot of sports out of it for me. But being from Nebraska, sports are everything, and at recess, I played football with the boys, and I wanted to play Pop Warner, but my mom was like, no, there is no way on God's green earth that you're going to do that. So I did the next best thing, and I'm writing about it. But yeah, no, I would have loved to play. It would have been fun, but nope.
I think you've kind of alluded to the answer to this question, but so far in your career, you mentioned that you were pursuing a basketball reporting position here, ended up being football, but do you have a favorite sport that you like to cover? I suppose going to school in Kansas, it would be hard not to say basketball, right?
Yeah, well, this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I really like whatever is in season, because you change, and change is good. Writing about the same thing over and over and over again, you can get burnt out. So I like what's ever in season, and I know that's kind of a cheap answer, but it's true.
Well, everything is relevant then. You're never out of season if you're always writing about the stuff that's in season, right?
Exactly.
Kind of a spin on it.
Yeah. And I can never read too many Grizzly football articles. So if you have to write, if you have to do a Grizzly article every day of the year, that's okay. That's all right, because it's kind of like I come out of hibernation once the article starts surfacing in well, of course, spring ball, but then they start surfacing for the season in late July and into August and so on. And is it a lot tougher? Well, I guess first off, before I ask that question, I'll ask you this thing: is anything about your job and interacting with University of Montana coaches and players and all that you've had to do so far, is there anything that's kind of surprised you about it, or anything that you didn't, in a good way, or if you want to, you can say a bad way, but has anything kind of, I didn't expect that, or I didn't anticipate that?
So this is going to sound a little weird, but bear with me. I haven't been treated with a lot of respect before I came up here. People always doubted my knowledge or doubted where I came from because I'm a woman and I'm a sports writer. Yeah, it's 2017, but you get guys that just, they think you're in it for the wrong reasons, or you don't know what you're talking about. And I haven't experienced that at all up here, which is really refreshing. You know, everybody's treated me with a ton of respect and, you know, knows that I actually care about football and I know what a route is and I can talk about them. And yeah, so that's probably been one of the biggest surprises. It's just because I'm so used to being treated one way, you know, being treated in a good way is different.
Yeah. And I suppose, the gender issue you alluded to, I suppose age enters into that too. I mean, you're just out of college and so young.
There's a bit of that too. A lot of skeptics. Oh, she just graduated from college. What does she know? You know, well, I worked really hard in college. You know, I wrote for the Associated Press covering the Chiefs and the Royals and Kansas football and Kansas basketball for 3 years. I interned at the Washington Post in their sports department. Like, they don't accept, you know, nobodies, you know, and I was a sports editor at a student paper during one of the most intense semesters ever, with Kansas and almost every player on that roster getting in trouble back in the spring. So I know a lot of stuff that, you know, people don't necessarily think that I do, or have had experiences that a lot of people don't necessarily think that I've had. So
Kansas had one good football season, I think. What, about a decade ago?
10 years ago, yep, 2007.
Yeah, she remembers. I figured she probably
I was in 7th grade.
Yeah. You know what I remember about it is they were good enough. They were starting to get, you know, they were sort of becoming the darling team that year because it just never happened, and they were a very successful program and stuff like that. And I don't know why I always remember this, but I was watching a game, and it was late in the season. I mean, you know, we're getting into mid to late November, somewhere in there. And they flashed to the student section, and some kids holding up a pretty good-sized coroplast sign that says, "Kansas football, a tradition since September."
That's good. That's good.
And that was about it for Kansas football, wasn't it?
That was
yeah. I was actually talking about the state of Kansas football with some of the Grizz players today.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get back,
we
can talk some recruiting. Recently, you covered the recruits coming in and the verbals and some of that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you say it.
Yeah, if you've got time.
Sure.
Cool.
All right. We will be back with more with Amie Just, Grizz football beat reporter for Missoulian, and 406mtsports.com. Still got to talk about that, too, 406mtsports.com. Learn more about that as Sports Talk Tonight continues.
Sports Talk Tonight, live from the KGVO studio.
Missoula Sports.
We are back. Sports Talk Tonight, brought to you by Jerry Wessel's Tire Center. Locally owned Les Schwab Tire Center provides the best tire value promise. Visit them online at jerrywesselstirecenter.com and CHS Mountain West Co-op, Western Montana's source for Cenex fuel, feed, fertilizer, clothing, and tech for over 75 years. And our guests, Amie Just, this evening brought to you by First Montana Bank. Your home for free Centennial checking plus unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card. Online at firstmontanabank.com.
That is our executive producer, Kyle Stensrud, who's filling in for Scott Guernsey. Denny Bedard on this side of the board. You got a note from Gurns? Gurns had to be in Butte to watch his son Cameron's ball game.
Yeah, he was hoping for big things. They were a pretty good team, but tonight was not their night. They went down 24-0. Newman.
As the officiating.
We'll get the full scoop next week, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll take the place of the statewide tailgate show. No, it won't do that. Amie Just from the Missoulian and 406mtsports.com. Amie, it's a program that's about as new as you to all this, and I'm sure it was included in your position guide. You were at least aware of it, but there's a terrific online sports reporting option called 406mtsports.com. I think I got that right.
Yes, you did.
The background of it, how that got started, what your involvement is, what you can tell us about it.
So it's really an aggregate of all of the sports coverage from any of the papers that are under Lee, Montana's umbrella. So that's the Missoulian, Montana Standard, let's
Billings
see.
Gazette.
Yes, Billings Gazette, and the IR in Helena.
Okay.
So all of the sports writers at those 4 papers, all of their articles come through 406. So it's really a one-stop shop for, if you want to read about Carroll and Montana, you can go there and you don't have to bounce between, the IR's website and the Missoulians. You can go straight to 406mtsports.com and get all of that. Or if you care about how, Billings Senior is doing in football, because they're doing really well this year, you can go to 406MT Sports and read that. It's just a really good place for all of your Montana needs for sports, ranging from high school to all the colleges in the state. It's a pretty cool thing.
It is. I really enjoy it. As a contributing writer to that, is it essentially the same articles that you submit that are in the Missoulian, or does it give you an opportunity to write about a few different things that maybe there's just not room for in the paper, or expand a little bit on some articles that you would write anyway?
So there's been a couple articles that I've had to chop for print a little bit, but online they're in their full glory. But yeah, no, pretty much anything that I write that goes in the Missoulian is on 406's page.
And as a Grizzly football beat reporter, one of your responsibilities, you got to do a lot of player profile writing. You had mentioned that we need more upperclassmen players I can talk to. I'm running out of dudes here.
Yeah.
Because it's a UM policy, but and not an unusual policy.
No,
right?
not unusual at all.
Yeah,
so I can't interview freshmen, but that's okay. It's just there's a lot of freshmen on this roster, and I write 2 to 3 feature articles a week, and I am running out of players. But it's all right. That's a good thing, right? You get to write about everybody and get to talk to everybody. But yeah, no, I was doing my planning, and I only have just a couple of players left.
Yeah.
Outside of that planning. So if they make a deep run in the playoffs, I'm going to have to start writing about the coaches.
Yeah. And you'd mentioned that you feel very appreciated and accepted as a reporter here in Missoula, doing Grizzly articles, and so you're interviewing players, and that can be shall we say, a tough interview at times.
It can be, but it hasn't been.
That's great.
Yeah, my article for tomorrow's paper is on Justin Strong, so if you want to look for that.
That one I knew would be a walk in the park because Justin was one of the player guests on the Coaches Show a few weeks ago. And it impressed me that if you asked Justin what time it is, you'd probably get somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes.
Fill a segment.
Yeah, I think pretty much. But you got to keep up because
he talks
Justin
fast.
Talks as fast as he plays, doesn't he?
Oh my goodness! I had to rewind my tape several times before when I was coming in here transcribing it. I was like, "Wait, what did you say?" Like, man, I'm glad I just didn't take notes and actually recorded that interview because I couldn't keep up. Couldn't do it.
When you're interviewing a player, where are you from? How do you get here? Recruiting, and what do you think of the team? Blah, blah, blah. Do you have pretty much the same set of questions for everyone that you interview, or while you're doing a little background bio check, do you cater some of your questions to that player's background, their youth, where they grew up, and things like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I try to focus them as individual as I possibly can. With Justin, it was pretty easy because his legacy, so to speak, has been pretty well documented. So there's a lot of background research for me to look up.
Right.
Some of the guys don't necessarily have that, so I interview another coach or another teammate to try to get some color in there. But yeah, no, Justin, I'm gonna have a hard time keeping this one short. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Not to say anybody's a bad interview, but who's been an enjoyable, like that was a lot of fun type interview on the team? Because there's always those characters. Yeah,
definitely Justin, and then Reese Phillips. Bless his heart. He is one of the best.
He's such
best
an engaging,
interviews. Oh my goodness, he's incredible.
Yeah, mature class act beyond his years. He's just a really good kid. That was a tough deal.
And Cooper Sprunk as well.
I knew that name. I knew that name was going to come.
Figured that would come.
I asked Guernsey about that. I said, I didn't want to say class clown. I didn't mean it that way, but obviously one of the kids on the team that's
enjoyable,
not afraid to ham it up. If you seem like the kind of guy, if you told Cooper to do something crazy, as long as he wasn't going to get in trouble for it, he'd probably do it for you.
Not against the law.
Just to get a laugh out of you. Is it a lot tougher, Amie, to? I suppose this might even sound like a silly question, but there's probably a little bit different approach. Is it tougher to interview a coach after a loss, and do you have to approach that differently than after a win? Do you find yourself maybe lobbing a few softballs or hard balls, or how do you take that one on?
I try to come off as a little more understanding and just more genuine.
I too am sad at the
Amy's
loss.
here. Talk to Aunt Amie. It's okay.
It's just losing. It's not fun. You don't want to lose.
No.
And I don't need to beat them up. They're already beating up themselves. I'm a little calmer in my questions after losses, or I try to soften the blow a little bit. Just because that's just who I am as a person. I don't like, making people feel bad. That's never my intention. Because like I said, they're already beating themselves up more than is probably necessary.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that you don't have to do any more of those interviews this year.
Yeah, I would like that. That'd make my job easy.
I would have a hard time with that because that's a lot different. That's a lot different than doing this. It's a lot different than doing the pregame show and being on the flagship station, because we're the rah guys.
Yeah.
This is cheerleader central here at KGVO
fun
and KLYQ,
city.
And so you're not trying to dig dirt. And I don't mean to imply, Amy, that you are, but you're not trying to come up with something that might.
You're not digging real deep.
No, nothing that would ever be perceived as maybe
Guernsey's certainly not
criticism.
I mean, he's not even scratching this.
Yeah, no, but compared to me, he's vicious. I mean, he's at least he'll at least be kind of the stern dad if I lead the questions that way.
Finger waggling.
Yeah.
Why did you do that again?
Before we went to break, Amy, Kyle was saying, talked a little bit about recruiting. That's one of your jobs. Of course, National Signing Day comes up, in February, I do believe?
February.
But in many ways, National Signing Day is sort of, the cat out of the transparent bag, because you already know who a lot of these kids are. But you can write. It gives you an opportunity to write about them and introduce those kids. I think it's pretty cool. You get to introduce those kids basically to the fan base, because you're the one who's telling them, a little bit more about their background, their accomplishments, and all the accolades that they've received in high school. That's got to be kind of a cool deal.
Yeah, it's fun. It's also weird at the same time, not in like a bad way,
right.
But when you just looking at it on its surface, oh yeah, you're interviewing, high school players who are going to come play here. But then you break it down like, oh, I'm calling a 17-year-old at like 8 o'clock in the evening. Like, that's not weird at all. But no, it's good. And a lot of the guys in the upcoming class are really great guys, and they're really good players. And I'm excited to see, what they can do when they get here. Because it's always fun just to watch a new crop of guys come up.
Well, I ask a former wide receiver, Scott Guernsey, this every week. I ask Riley Corcoran, the play-by-play announcer, this every week. Basically, what is What is your take on Montana Grizzly football to this point? How do you feel about the team, where they've been, and where they're headed?
You know, they've convinced me. You know, I think that anytime you lose a starting quarterback, you know, you could drop off. I mean, just look at North Dakota. You know, and all of their other injuries don't help that either. But Montana didn't lose a beat with Gresh, and he's playing really, really well. I'm surprised he hasn't won National Freshman of the Week yet, you know, and I totally think he deserves it after, you know, just about as incredible as he's played, you know, since he's been thrown in there. And he's 15th in the country in passing yards, and he only had 18 yards in his first game and 9 in his second, you know, like that's pretty outstanding. But no, I believe that their offense can do a lot of good things. Their linebackers are incredible. Their defensive line is really showing up as well. And it helps Gresh to have a veteran offensive line, you know, 4 seniors and a sophomore who's started just about every game of his career too. So that's, you know, you can't ask for much better than that there. You know, the pass defense is struggling, but when you have an offense that can go 90 miles an hour, you know, if all you got to do is outscore your opponent, that's the key to the game. And if you can do that, you know, yes, every team's going to have weaknesses, but as long as your strengths outweigh the other team's strengths, you're going to be good to go. Well,
and I think there's just so much community excitement, and even though you've been here a very short time, you probably sensed it too, is that University of Montana over the last 20, 30, 40 years has had some pretty darn good quarterbacks, none with the statistical accomplishments of Gresh Jensen as a freshman.
Nope. He's
and I think that the fans are just thinking, man, I cannot wait to see. I mean, you know, this kid's fun to watch now.
I know. But, he's just so captivating, and his touch on the long ball is incredible.
Yeah,
you know, and I thoroughly enjoy watching him because you never know what he's gonna do. Like he has a lot of different weapons, and you know, whether that's bailing out a pass, you know, a chest pass to a running back to bail out from getting a sack.
You call that a pass. I call that a handoff. I couldn't tell. I couldn't decide. Statistically, what did they call it?
I don't know. I
thought they'd called it a...
Did it leave the quarterback's hands?
You know, you'd have to look pretty close at the replay and watch a little of that. It was...
he got rid of the ball in some way.
I thought it was a handoff. I mean, it was a little before, but I thought it was a handoff.
Perhaps it was the fumble-rooski.
He's he's ad-libbing his way out of a quarterback sack, and Justin Calhoun is in the back... Or, I'm sorry, Jeremy Calhoun.
Yes, Jeremy.
A running back is in the backfield with him, and I don't know. I think Jeremy just turned around to watch his quarterback get tackled, and have the ball. Oh, okay, and he went for 10,
I asked
10, 12
Gresh
yards
about it, and he said that he just yelled his name, and he turned around and he tried getting it to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, was
lucky. He was the only Jeremy back there.
Oh my goodness, no, absolutely.
He was paying attention.
Yeah. His name was Josh, and they were on defense. It might be a little bit of trouble there.
Amie Just, Grizz football beat writer for the Missoulian and 406mtsports.com. I know you're very busy this time of year, but will we see you at any of the basketball games? I'm at all those.
Maybe. We'll see. So. There's a new basketball writer as well. His name is Frank Gagola. But yeah, no, he's going to be good. Right. So, but no, maybe I'll be there. Maybe I won't. We'll figure it out as it comes along.
We appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Great job. We'll be back to wrap up Sports Talk tonight right after this.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
We're back with Sports Talk tonight, brought to you by Orange Street Food Farm, locally owned and operated grocery store featuring the freshest fruits and vegetables, fresh meats, and a great beer and wine selection. And Grizzly Liquor, located downtown next to the Iron Horse. Big Sky, big selection, and online at grizzlyliquor.com. And we were talking golf earlier. We're brought to you by the Ranch Club, golf, dining, entertainment, events, and the incredible pool. Visit them online at ranchclub.com, located just off of Mullen Road.
That is Kyle Stensrud filling in for Scott Guernsey on Sports Talk tonight this evening. Denny Bedard over here. We got quite a bit of volleyball to talk about coming up this weekend, Kyle.
Yeah, tomorrow they've got, it's I think the kids are out of school tomorrow and Friday,
Montana,
right?
Montana Educators
Yeah.
annual convention. So no school for just about all the grade school and high school kids tomorrow and Friday.
So instead of giving the kids the day off, let's have a 2-day volleyball tournament.
Okay.
Tomorrow over at Sentinel and in Hellgate. It's pool play tomorrow, then bracket play on Friday. You've got 9 AA teams coming to town, 6 A teams coming to town, and 1 B team.
There's only one B team.
Florence.
Your Florence
My
Falcons.
Florence Lady
I
Falcons.
didn't realize they were the only B team.
Or they're the only B team. They're the only undefeated B team, west side of the state. You go over to Huntley, and they're undefeated at like 19
the way you
but
describe that, something tells me they'll have to play a lot of A and double A teams in this
they're
tournament,
playing,
given they're the only B act in town.
Florence, Glacier's like right behind Sentinel and double A in the west, and Florence opens up at 9:30 facing Glacier. Then they're off. Then they play Corvallis, who they beat earlier in the season, really early in the season. But Corvallis has done extremely well in the West in A. Then we play Great Falls High. And this is Florence that plays all these AA and A schools. It's good competition for them.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, they need that because you're going to come up against a Huntley that essentially plays like an A or a AA school. They're that good. And the Shotos of the world and stuff like that when you get to state. So assuming Florence gets through divisionals here in a couple weeks, head over to Bozeman for state. So there's 16 teams, 8 teams in Sentinel, 8 teams at Hellgate. Hellgate, Capital, CMR, Flathead, Big Sky, Clemmy Falls, Polson, Libby over at Hellgate, Sentinel, Glacier, Whitefish, Helena, Great Falls High, Corvallis, Florence, Frenchtown, and Sentinel.
So they're splitting up all the competition between those 2 schools.
Yep, between those two, they have
Hellgate and Sentinel.
They'll have games going on starting at 9:30 tomorrow morning. The last game is scheduled at 6:20, but it's going to be more like probably 7:30.
Yeah.
But they only play 2 sets or 2 games. And it's a pool play. So depending on your record, then you're going to get bracketed out for Friday, and you're going to have championship bracket and consolation bracket on Friday.
College volleyball, too. Our University of Montana Grizzly volleyball team, they're in town for a couple more conference games. Boy, they could use a win or two. They need a boost. If you can get out and support them, please do so. Tomorrow evening, it's Grizz social media night. If you follow the Montana Grizzlies, check it out at gogrizz.com or however you do that. But if you follow them through any of their social media outlets, you get in for $1. So that's pretty good.
Show them the little Instagram post and you get in for $1.
Nice. Yeah, they're playing Southern Utah tomorrow evening. And then Saturday night, it's Northern Arizona. That's the pink game, their cancer awareness game. If you go to that one, you've got a chance. Mikkel didn't tell me how, but you've got a chance to win season tickets to men's and women's basketball. And that's also at 7 o'clock. And that is so Thursday and Saturday, both matches in the West Auxiliary Gym of the Adams Center.
And we got high school football playoffs coming up in a matter of October 28th, I think, is the first high school playoff game.
I don't know. I'll wait till it comes on 406 MT Sports.
Yeah, that's right around the corner.
I'm not only reading Amie Just articles, so if she doesn't write about it, I may not find out about it. I don't know.
For me, all this means is we're just that much closer to basketball season.
It is. And again, I want to remind folks about the scrimmages coming up on Tuesday evening. Those are free. You can check out the University of Montana men's team at 5:30. And then the University of Montana Lady Grizz, they'll take the court at about 7 o'clock on Tuesday night at the Adams Center. I had one other.
The following night, too, you can critique the public address announcer and call in, let us know how he did. Oh, wait, that's you.
It is.
So, call in and critique, Denny.
Yeah. As if my schedule weren't busy enough, about to get busier. That's good. I like all the side hustle. That's good. Soccer. I almost forgot to mention soccer.
Many part-time.
Indeed.
That are full-time.
Last couple minutes of the program here. Also, did not want to forget about University of Montana soccer, and we will have Coach Placoris
either
on
next week or
we're trying to get Grizzly soccer head coach Mark Placoris on the show as soon as we possibly can. But Montana will be hosting North Dakota on Sunday. I know the weather forecast for the weekend is not the peachiest, but if you can get out there and support Grizzly soccer against North Dakota, Community Appreciation Day, all University of Montana faculty and staff will get in free. So will all veterans and first responders. They get in free. They got some Grizz banners. And again, I don't know the particulars about that. I don't know how big the banners are, but it's pretty cool to have a Grizz banner. And they are going to have some of those to give away as well. So, you might might pick up a banner.
Little
And
swag.
congratulations to the Montana soccer team, not having a bad season.
No, they are doing quite well.
Off to a pretty good year. So hopefully you can get out and support them as well. Grizzly football, they have a bye week, which means, of course, no game on Saturday. It means that, but it also means that any of you who enjoy attending, we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show, the Grizzly football coaches show, because of the bye week, well, they take that off too. So there's no show tomorrow evening at Brooks and Brown's, the Holiday Inn Missoula downtown. We'll resume that, though. We'll get back on that next Wednesday, which would be the 25th, ahead of another road game. Grizz had 2 consecutive Big Sky Conference road games. They came home to play North Dakota, get a week off, hit the road again to Weber State, who's got to be scratching their heads a little bit after dropping a game by 2 touchdowns to Southern Utah. So anyway, so no coaches show tomorrow night, but we'll be back at it a week from tomorrow at Brooks and Brown's. You are invited to come on in, have a bite to eat. Don't have to. You can have a glass of wine like all of the Missoulian sports reporters tend to do when they're
red, white, both.
And if you have if you have a few, her articles are that much better when you read them. I mean, they're just right. Yeah.
We were talking off air. No, we weren't.
No. But, our thanks to Amie Just, Grizz beat reporter, football reporter for the Missoulian and 406mtsports.com. Kyle, thank you for helping me through it. Minus
you bet.
I never did get to the Packer plan, although I've already talked about it.
Everybody knows you're going to Green Bay.
Surprise Jennifer with a trip to Green Bay. This thing has been planned for months. Wouldn't you know, Aaron
Rodgers screws it all up.
Won't be playing. He screws it all up.
Typical.
I think our Vikings screwed it all up, but we'll have a great time anyway. We'll see you next Wednesday on Sports Talk Tonight. Good night, everyone.